This is the concierge PA. He talks about the bias when it comes to vaccines. You can be biased against people who have vaccines and biased against people who are not vaccinated. So in this case, he brought in his child for a very routine visit, but once they found out the child was not vaccinated, they went down a whole different rabbit hole that had nothing to do with the child. And it impacted the care his child received because they were more worried about the vaccines than they were about the actual health of the child. I have a similar story with a friend whose child is fully vaccinated, and it took them 5 days of the child being in the pediatric ICU to recognize that he had H. influenza B because they thought he couldn't possibly have it. He was vaccinated for it. So it delayed care because of the vaccine status. Regardless if they are vaccinated or not vaccinated, it can cause a bias. Watch this video.
We're going to talk about vaccines, probably not the way that you think we're going to talk about vaccines. I had one of mine end up in the ER over the weekend, a 1.5-year-old. Unfortunately, it became a vaccine shaming kind of incident. Now, I've been both a first-time parent with a super sick child and feeling scared and all those things. I still remember that 8 or 9 years later, the first time my kid had like flu or something heavy. It was scary. And you potentially go in for care, and all you want is to make sure your child's okay, especially if you don't vaccinate. As soon as they run through their list of questions, they say, are you up to date on vaccines? And you say no. How many have they had? They haven't had any. This block goes into their brain. I mentioned that part because I was there too. I've not always had the same stance on vaccines. There was a time when I first started practicing where you don't know what you don't know. I had that same mental block when someone came in and they said, my kid hasn't had any vaccines. It's instantly start thinking, this kid has pertussis, or this kid has this, or this kid has that. All of these vaccine-related things, this happened this weekend, actually provide crappier care because you're so hung up on the vaccine thing. You don't even test or rule out all of those vaccine things that you're so not concerned about. You're telling the parents it could be pertussis and it could be this. A lot of my patients run into this issue when they have to go in for care that's not with us. Some will end up lying to the hospital or whatever facility they're at, and they will say, my kid's all up to date, just to avoid that conversation, which is crazy. I've been there with my own. I've been at PCH for a UTI with a kiddo of mine that's hasn't had any vaccines. And as soon as we mentioned that, UTI, there's no vaccine for that, quickly became vaccine discussion. It totally clouds medical judgment.
Always good seeing other providers speak up.